Thank you for joining me. My name is James Craddock, and I'm going to take you through a very short walkthrough of a product from EWF Marketing called PAYDIRT. This is not the longer version that I often do where I train. This is more for you to understand what the purpose of PAYDIRT is. Oftentimes with clients we may implement aspects of PAYDIRT. We may get hired to do a little consulting or maybe on a startup to just kind of help them get off the ground. But it doesn't matter what aspect of the business we are addressing when it comes to taking someone's business and pulling it apart and doing some things within it in order to make it more profitable, to make them more profitable, and to launch them to the next level. No matter what we do, every time we're always returning to what is this acrostic that we've developed called PAYDIRT. And so it makes sense to take a few moments to run through this presentation and give you an idea what PAYDIRT's all about. PAYDIRT, when it is implemented from end to end, it is intended to take someone from solopreneur all the way to either being able to replicate their business or sell and license the systems that they've developed in their business, or even take you to being a franchise owner if your business model is such that would benefit from that. So PAYDIRT is very compact, and it allows you to very quickly make strides in what it is that you are doing. Now with each business, PAYDIRT has to be implemented according to that business, but in essence we always come back to these 7 steps, these 7 processes, and different things that we do fall into one of these 7 categories. So with that, we just want to introduce to you PAYDIRT, and this is the EWF Marketing's vision for emerging companies, meaning that companies who are doing business now in the 21st century with the onslaught of social media, with the new way of presenting value to your clients before asking for business, the way that the consumer really has taken the helm of the transactional process. PAYDIRT allows for us to go into any particular business and start aligning that business with the new methodologies that are so prolific on the internet and continuing to evolve. PAYDIRT is kinetic, and it's inherent in its structure. It purposely manifests things that manifest more things within your business, so that you become responsive to the things that you need to collect and that you need to organize, but then it gives you a channel to put those in that later ultimately not only produce revenue, but produce back for you a system that is continually perpetuating. So when we first go into a business, we are interested in how the business is structured and who it is that we're talking to make sure that they are fully aware and fully capable of making the decisions in their business, because PAYDIRT is something that is going to realign everything that you do. And once you understand PAYDIRT, and once you have made the necessary changes to implement PAYDIRT, the rest of your staff is going to fall in line with that same structure. So one of the initial things that we do is make sure that the person we're speaking with and dealing with is capable of taking responsibility for such an implementation, as well as being responsible to implement the ideas that are going to come about as a result. So then we want to know what the results you're looking for, and often this is figured out and determined in kind of an investigative interview. Maybe we sit and do a high trust interview. Maybe this comes about as a result of a relationship with mutual partners, whatever the case may be. We want to know what your desired outcome is and the things you don't want to have included in your day-to-day business. And we find out what some of your challenges are and what results you're looking for and whether or not the brand that you have currently fabricated is at all working for you. And this is just to get a very good understanding of the position that you're at currently with relationship to your brand, with relationship to the way you are approaching your market, because we don't want to throw out that which is working or that which can be dovetailed into the overall product of PAYDIRT. So seriously, can you really market your way to freedom? A climate of customer loyalty and customers praising you and raving fans promoting your business and effortless outreach, multiple profit centers, a platform to project your voice and advice. Can this really, happen as a result of simply implementing a plan? And because we understand that some of these results are what we want, sure, this plan is implemented with those end results in mind. And the idea is that as this plan this PAYDIRT system works its way into your business, that you start looking for highlight markers and opportunities to see some of these things start to pay off. And oftentimes, even in the very beginning, these kind of things start to manifest themselves in your business. And if there's one thing that really happens, is suddenly you realize that there is a very specific goal to everything that you're doing, and an agenda and a message, and everything seems to have so much clarity. And when that happens, then the next thing you find is people operate much better in the environment and in the organization, but you also operate much better, because with every move and every phone call and every response that you make on anything, it all comes with a very specific intention, because you know what your end goals are and you know where you want to go. So if you can add so much value to people and so much value to your prospect base, I mean, we're talking about people that have never even met you. If you can put them in a position where they just literally cannot live without you, they have this epiphany that, oh my, without this individual, without their tools, without their insight, I'm not going to be able to make this next decision. I'm not going to be able to go on, because I'm going to know that there is a much better result out there than the one that I'm going to get the way I'm currently going. This is this value-based method is, of course, invading everything and every market, every attempt at marketing, because of how everything has been flattened out through the internet, because social media has become so prolific, because giving things away for free is a common and standard practice with absolutely all online marketing. And it's starting to penetrate the brick and mortar industries, where people have an expectation of you. But it's not only that they're looking for something for free, it's the fact that, you know what, so much can be given away for free, and there is such a defined path to make that happen, that if you're not giving me some insight of who you are and what you can do for me, and you're not educating me, then you're simply being drowned out by the voices who are. And there are many industries where this is just starting to penetrate into those areas, or maybe is still on the fringes and not necessarily taken so much hold in, say, a brick and mortar type of business. It's a perfect opportunity for those business owners to recognize the power in this idea of adding value to their customers, and recognizing that you can leverage the internet so extensively to make this happen, that as you move through your day, the content that happens around you can be collected, and it can be administered into that funnel. It can be broadcast across so many different channels that those on the fringe of your funnel, those on the outside of that are just touching you through social media and just barely touching you through your blog and other aspects of places where you put content, they start to find value in you. And there's an entire psychology that goes with what happens when you add value to people that we don't have time to get into right now, but it truly has a maddening way of attracting clients to you, and it puts you in a position where you don't have to constantly be chasing after them. So you have to understand that clients want a few different things, and there's a few marketing insights here that, of course, my slide did not fully represent in the title there. But clients want to belong to something. These are just some valuable things to understand. They want more value for their money. I mean, this is just the day and age that we live in. They want inclusive programs that give them a perception that they are part of something, and they are even more valuable than what what they purchase makes it even more valuable. They respond to a vision of the future, people that can lead them. And you may say, well, you know, whatever business I'm in, it's so niche, it's so small, it's a fraction of their lives. True, but in that area that they are partaking in or have to partake in, or whatever the case is, whatever circumstance your service or product addresses, they want to be led during that time, and they want to be given some sort of a satisfaction that the product that they are utilizing is pushing them into the future. Education, the whole value proposition, this is educating people, and it breeds a passion and a desire. It starts to put them on your wavelength. Multiple profit centers means a whole lot more leads. It's an incredible thing when you create such an environment that your leads come about as a result of a profitable endeavor, even if it's just a few dollars or whatever the case may be. It brings people to you, and it qualifies them as they come to you, because they start to spend $1 here, $9 there, $100, whatever the case may be. But by doing that, it's giving you an opportunity to gauge their level of interest, and it truly does have a bonding effect between the two of you, because they recognize that your expertise deserves payment, and it gives them a gauge inside as to whether or not your payment for their payment for your expertise was worth it. And interaction breeds loyalty. And the more interaction, the more they spend. Now, you and I are sitting here going through PAYDIRT, and we're interacting. And yes, there's an intention there that the longer you spend understanding what we can do with PAYDIRT in your business, the more it is anticipated that you are going to want to be a part of a program like this, because you simply see that there is a result-based orientation to what this teaches. And honestly, by the time we end up in this presentation, you can take this presentation and you could run off and do it yourself, and I would encourage you to do that. No doubt we are here because we have chartered this path, and we like to push forward and help people push forward. There's a lot more to it than simply a short presentation, but the intention here is to engage with you and let you know, and this is what you're going to want to do with your clients, and the result is going to be a very loyal following. So what is PAYDIRT? Well, it's an acrostic. It's 7 letters, and it's basically a step-by-step process that, when fully implemented, and implemented with an understanding of what your outcome is and your goals, that if you follow this process, it's going to take a lot of the stress off, and it's also going to bring you to a point of extreme clarity, and everything's going to function in a direction that you are in, that you want to go, and that your whole staff is aware of that you're going in. And it saves a whole lot of loss and a whole lot of leakage of energy, time, resources, money, etc. there's a term, and it escapes me what the actual name of the term is, but it applies to rowing a boat and paddling a boat when you have multiple people that are all contributing to the effort of moving the boat through the water. And what ultimately happens is when a rowing team or a paddling team of outrigger canoes, I used to race outrigger canoes or something of that nature, when they get to going, if the boat starts moving through the water faster than the 1-to-1 ratio of them paddling, or less than 1-to-1 ratio of them paddling the boat, what happens is they all get in such unison that they're pushing the boat through the water, and the boat's actually going faster than the direct pressure that's being applied through the paddles. There's a euphoria that happens, and all the team members feel it. They recognize it. Oftentimes they try to actually manage it, and often when you do, sometimes you lose it. But what happens is you gain more momentum because of the focused effort of many, and then now all of a sudden your ability to move through the water is exponentially increased, and that little bit can make all the difference in a race. That's what's happening here in PAYDIRT. As you synthesize each component and you break it down into this manner, and you're able to clearly define each area, you truly do get into a position where everything is well established and makes sense in one of these 7 areas. And by doing that, you can pretty quickly start to see different things like the 80-20 law, 80-20 rule start to unfold, and you can clearly see where pieces of your business are coming from and how to capitalize on other pieces, and maybe you even see some potential in an area of your business you previously did not see. The results and the outcome of PAYDIRT are endless. It all depends on just how much you want to manifest them and how close you get to being able to see what's happening, and this is really where our value comes in as we implement this in a business. But so P is the path. It's really a definition of how to get from where you're at to where you want to go, and it's a matter of stopping and thinking of exactly where you do want to go and articulating that and using some very fun and sometimes metaphoric and visual storytelling type of methodologies to really get a visual of where you want to go. And then it takes some true inner reflection sometimes to determine where you currently are, and suddenly you'll start to recognize that there's a bridge that needs to be built between the two. And then we do an assessment, and once we have our path and we've kind of cast the vision, this assessment helps us determine our message, and it also helps us determine our market. And ultimately what happens, such as in why, where you yield to the data, is you write a USP that defines this target client that you find out through your assessment. It defines the circumstances that your target client is in, and it defines it encapsulates your entire message to the right market. And when you yield to that and you recognize that what you've done now is distilled into a very crystallized form, exactly who you're selling to, what you're selling, and some of the words and some of the things, some of the nuances even that contribute or detract from that, it becomes very obvious what you need to do next, which is why D shows up at this point. Because when you do PAY, you are so excited to start developing because it starts to make it so obvious and clear where the holes are and where the hang-ups are. And by the way, you can't do all of this type of stuff alone. There is a value in bringing somebody into your organization and allowing them, once you trust them, once they've proven themselves to have knowledge, there's a value in allowing them to hopefully tactfully and professionally reflect upon you exactly what needs to be done. Often coaching is nothing more than somebody standing there telling you to get back to the fundamentals and to reflect upon what you're doing, and then to give you accountability. But by doing that, it often opens up vistas and awarenesses that you otherwise would have just allowed the fog of day-to-day to pass you by. So when you get to D and it's time to develop your campaign, this is going to happen in a way that once after you've done PAY, that's almost natural, because content gets created, and you go out there and you have this idea, and you start collecting different pieces of information. You start looking at all your resources, and you find out where all your images are, all your text, all your audio, all the things that you've done, that actually each one of those components contains so much value, and you put them all into one place, and you create this plan and this target, and you start building and developing a campaign. And the development of a campaign could mean fixing your website, creating some landing pages, parsing out some of your particulars that you may want to drive traffic from 2 or 3 different demographics because of the power that's within them, maybe because of the reach that each one has, whatever the case may be. And you start funneling all of that to bringing it all together so that you can ultimately take it to I and implement that campaign on the internet. Once you have those videos created and you have that website doing what it's supposed to do, the way it's supposed to do it, and the landing pages and the back end funnel, and you understand when people come to you, you may have one particular large item that you sell them, but along the way you're going to give them opportunities to consume you, and sometimes for free, and sometimes along the way it becomes a method. You start charging them smaller amounts as they get closer to your ultimate goal. And even oftentimes just little side businesses and alternate revenue channels spring up as a result of this this implementation, because you recognize, wow, there's some incredibly valuable stuff here. Now that I've built this funnel, there's no reason that this channel right here, when it connects with people over here, that it can't be producing a nice little stream of revenue. So those things usually happen and come about as a result of starting to do this implementation. And what happens is you start making a connection with those all the way at the fringes, and then all the way back to those who are ready to purchase your product. And you find them at different levels and different places along the way, and by having a system that allows them to be touched and reached out to on a regular basis and followed up on, depending on your industry. What a thing called behavioral marketing starts to come into play, different automated software for marketing and email marketing and things of this nature come into play. But when all of this is tuned to do nothing more than promote your message, your clear, predefined message from the earlier parts of PAYDIRT, it starts to resonate in people, and it starts to get to where you can tune it and better define it. And when you do, you discover that you now have a very astute hold of the keel that is driving that is steering your business. And what happens then? You have all this message and this clarity, and you develop this campaign and you implement it. You get into a position where you're connecting with people, but you have thus found the emotional connection. You've thus found the connection that is not necessarily tied to exactly what it is that you do, and we put you in a position to reposition yourself. And that is what's so powerful. And then, as a result of being repositioning yourself, rebranding, maybe selling yourself not so much as what you do, but what the benefit of it is. If you sell swimming pools, instead of trying to sell the features and benefits of swimming pool, maybe you rebrand yourself as the afternoon babysitter, or maybe you rebrand your pool company as the glamorous way to decorate your backyard. I mean, the functionality of a pool can be rebranded and repositioned in so many different ways, but when you find what it is that the problem it's solving and the market that it's reaching, and then you build a campaign around that and those circumstances, you tend to reach people right at the core of why they want to spend $10, $20, $30,000 on a swimming pool, instead of trying to convince them that the features and benefits of your pool are better than the competitors when they don't even understand how a swimming pool, all the finer points of it anyhow. And this really allows us to shape our message. And then we have our testimonials, and these are the referrals that come back to us, but most people don't take an active role in developing a way for testimonials to be manifested and returned to them, and we implement that and show you that and run you through that. So the path is to capture prospects on the internet. It's to educate them at home and educate them behind their computer and simply right where they are when they interact with you, way out there on the fringe of social media or on a radio program or whatever the case. And you build a funnel that then compels them to come in and assess their needs and to somehow engage with you. And you can do this through white papers and reports or interactive inquiries or assessments or something of that nature. And of course, all along the way, you're giving them value, and then you're just simply measuring their response. And then bring them in and enroll them in a program. Get them involved. Get them connected to you. There's some other aspects that there's other values to getting them enrolled in what you're doing. And you say, well, I just sell a single product, but there's a lot of ways to take a single product and break it down and give them interaction. Again, even if it's at a smaller dollar amount, to get them involved and make them feel like they're a part of something. And this doesn't work, this exact formula doesn't get implemented 100% in every single business. There are some times where involving them in a program is not the point. The point is to get them right to the sale. But we still follow that same idea of how can we get them involved and then incentivize them to tell others. And that's just that kind of that rotating process. That the path that we are going to develop sets up. And then when we do the assessment, we define your message in your market, we develop that USP, we record your strengths and unique abilities, we create a market profile, and we profile the target client. We look at the circumstance the client's under, and there's a whole variety of other things that we just research and assess and say, this is where you're at. And then we apply some marketing principles to what it is that we're doing at the very outset, because we understand that if we frame this back end piece and this message correctly, we're simply, by the time it comes time to develop and implement our marketing and also some of the other things that we're doing to present ourselves to the general public, our message, it materializes effortlessly. We don't even have to dig for what is going to go in what are we going to put on the direct mail, and what are we going to do for this next campaign. It starts to kind of dictate it for itself. So this assessment, it's invaluable. It's the absolute, it's probably the crux of the whole system. You cannot take this piece. It's really hard to take any single piece out, but if you don't put this piece in, you're going to find that everything that follows after it would fall down flat and become very difficult. The idea of yielding to the data and yielding to this new direction that you're taking and an increased demand of business and also of maybe a little more structure than you're used to, and these changes and mindsets and even new ideas that are going to be introduced as a result of technology and new economics, etc. There is some I call it inner game. There is some things that you have to be aware of that are going to happen. Some philosophical things that are going to creep up in your mind, and we all bring to bear our own skeletons, and suddenly we find ourselves freezing up, afraid to move, afraid to do, maybe afraid to respond. Maybe other aspects of our life really start to find, because of the mass change that this can bring about, we find ourselves combating this change, and there seriously is a point where we have to stop and say, okay, we're about ready to move down this line. Here are some of the things that are going to happen, and you can expect them to happen. And when they do, here's how we get past them. Here's how we synthesize them, and then we provide, when we implement this, tools and channels for you to be able to grow by and learn from. So that's the idea of yielding, and it's probably the most critical piece of it all, because, and again, I say this with each step, but it sits there at a place that it's just right before you develop. And if you haven't got your head around it and you haven't allowed yourself to say, okay, we're doing this, and you commit to it, then everything after that can start to wane, have second guesses, and you won't get the full benefit of what you're about to do, because in development, this is where the work begins. This is the time to develop the programs and the campaigns and the marketing videos, and take photos and pull photos together and know which photos to use and why. And we're digging into our childhood photos for some of these, and because we're trying to properly, with a proper balance, we're trying to saturate social media and video platforms and get our message out through different channels, and we want to do it in a way that causes people to buy into our story and recognize us for our abilities, but also to connect with our humanity. So all of this content that we've been collecting, we're going to start developing into something, and we're going to write ebooks and make binders and write sales copy and do landing pages and videos and lay out the layout office and implement strategies right there in our workplace. And we're going to make everything work around the story that we created in the first three letters of this acrostic, and then we're going to implement it. And we're going to drive some traffic to these landing pages. We're going to, if Infusionsoft is the methodology that we use, we're going to create campaigns that start to talk to our prospects in a series of videos and a series of emails. We're going to distribute all kinds of videos about who you are and what you do, and we'll make those in a variety of different ways. And Facebook and Google AdWords, we'll start putting a little bit of money towards them and discuss some strategies that allow you to really stretch your dollar and get the most out of what you're using Facebook and Google AdWords for. And again, everything that happens in this program, to just run out and use Facebook advertising does one thing, but if you're using it in conjunction with an entire focus and an entire strategy, it multiplies the value of it and also minimizes the dollars that are needed to spend. We have at EWF Marketing, we have a tipping point that we like to take branding to, and we utilize our earth, wind, water, and fire idea to say, here's the time that you implement the elements of the earth and of the wind and the water and the fire. And the purpose of that is so that you spend your money on marketing at the right time, in the right place, for the right purpose, until your brand gets to a tipping point. And then there's a whole new strategy for maintaining that saturation level that you've attained. But there's different, that only works if you've got this entire agenda in place. Landing page, search engine optimization, and article submission of blogs, newspaper, local media spots, and then we start to kind of move into some of the PR stuff that is possible through implementation. But by doing all of this, we're able to craft a repositioning of your business, and we're able to truly define and develop the message that you want to give to your clients. You're a strategist on one level or another. Your systems do more for your client than they are totally aware of. Something about the knowledge that you have, maybe it's the passion that you have that is hiding dormant and it's behind closed doors, and nobody gets an opportunity to take advantage of the awareness that they should be that they should have of what it is that drives you and what it is that makes you so good. And oftentimes this becomes our secret weapon against our competitors, but we fail to get that message out across to potential customers, and there's so much value in there, it's not even funny. But repositioning provides access to multiple resources and allows us to go after different demographics and different groups of people that could partake of our services on a whole different platform and in a whole different way. And of course we know what those are because we've already done the initial assessment and discussions along those lines. It allows us to integrate continuity between web video training and Office, and there's just so much that can be synthesized there. We can stylize our Office. I've written a book called Kinetic Avatars, and I talk about the marketing mind in relationship to story and characters. But every office, every business has a story, and the problem is there's a breakdown between what the customer experiences, what it takes to process the order through operations, all the way back to development. Everybody's got a disjointed story that they're operating from, that they're working from, and when this all comes together around a centralized USP and a centralized theme, well, now you can even stylize your office with things that help remind people and push people towards the outcome of that story, the result of that story. And it really makes for kind of a feng shui type of interaction between what you have in the physical environment of your office and what goes on behind closed doors or even in the minds of your salespeople, and it brings this continuity. And you don't have to completely change the decor of your office, but it does give you the opportunity to, if you wanted to, or otherwise just seed it with some signposts that keep pointing people towards the goal. But this is something that we do in implementation and repositioning. Create gift cards, recipe cards, app cards, different ways of interacting, and a lot of that lends itself also to the testimonies. Generate a newsletter and magazine. We do a killer 3D magazine that's online, has all kinds of interaction. You end up partnering with synergistic businesses in this process of repositioning, because now you see yourself as, a totally different entity, and it makes sense because your message will connect with what they're doing. Vision boards, vision movies, and we can just go on and on and on with what is available in that segment of repositioning you. But it's so critical because it's where you're meeting the client, and it's how you're meeting the client, and it's also once you build that foundation, it's whether or not you can reposition yourself in 3 different ways and grow that to 12 different ways over the next 10 years and things of that nature. It makes it, you need to keep it very flexible if possible. And testimonials, this creates the reciprocation and kind of the kinetic response of being in PAYDIRT at the very end, recording client testimonials and giving clients a way to promote you and rewarding them and leveraging the email marketing tools to create follow-up client referrals and getting people to testify through local PR and media and things of this nature. All of this can be built into your process, and there's a lot of tools out there that allow for mobile video recording and audio and different things that can be done. And it's always exciting to brainstorm these with business owners, because each business has a different way that they have even already found success in doing some testimonial things, and we just try to automate it to the best of our ability and include it in everything that you do from the very beginning of your day to the very end, so that it no longer becomes an afterthought. It's integrated, it's embedded. And the best part, we do it all for you if that is the case. We become your marketing department during a period of time where we implement PAYDIRT for you, and we bring to bear so many strategies, so much experience, so many insights, and it's always our intention to find revenue streams that will help literally pay for the implementation process along the way, and also give you new opportunities for lead capture that ultimately turn into new business. By the time we're done implementing PAYDIRT, there's obviously no way to guarantee the revenue response, but it is our drive, it is our desire, it is what we are looking for all along the way, is how can we increase revenue from day one and start making changes in the business. And oftentimes as we put PAYDIRT into play, we take a quick look at systems and take a quick look at technology as well as operational systems, and quite often we can find some very simple tweaks that will allow your collections department to be more successful, or maybe we find a way to change up your scheduling or implement a small piece of technology that does the job that 3 or 4 people were trying to manage, or whatever the case may be. We're always looking for a way to recoup your money as fast as possible so that we are adding value to you, and we have to do exactly what we teach and what we say. We have to benefit you and be a value to you all along the way, so that there is this constant responsiveness. Because once you implement PAYDIRT, then you're really at the beginning of what can be an awesome business growth, and no doubt you're going to want partners and counselors and coaches and consultants and teachers and implementers and designers and advisors and mastermind relationships to be with you as you develop, and no doubt we want to be there as well. You probably know that your greatest potential for business increase is within your existing customer base, and so we don't want to lose a client just because we finished implementing PAYDIRT. So we become your marketing department as long as you'll let us, and we become a partner, and constantly looking for an opportunity to help you and steer you into directions that benefit you and your overall vision. So if I were to be crass, I'd just simply ask you, which way do you want to go? Swim with the flow or against it? Do you want to move towards the future, or do you want to sit back and allow the future to move against you? And trust me, there's a common saying within EWF marketing that 2 teenagers and a laptop can literally destroy your marketplace, and they could simply go to your competitor and say, look, there's a lot we can do online, and when we do this, we can send leads to you, and you can ultimately take, your competitor never even having to touch any of the technology. That's how scary and volatile the new economy is, and the new methodology for finding clients and serving them and bringing them into a business can be, and it can be done literally third party and kind of extraneous from a business, to where anybody that just understands the principles can put these things into play and really have an impact against you, or you can of course embrace them and be the one to share that impact. Our full-on done-for-you implementation packages go from $139,000 to $199,000, and we just break it down into the assessment, which is basically PAY, the campaign development portion, and then the implementation and repositioning and testimonial. We break it down into these 3 segments so that these 3 things can be paid for. There are opportunities for equity share partnerships where we reduce the price to $39,000 and take 5% of shared equity moving forward. This is not a model for all businesses, because some businesses can't be traced, or there's no way for us to know what monies are coming in or whatever, so it doesn't always work out. But we continue to whittle it down. $24,000 with 10, and then a $12,000 startup at 20% shared equity. We have an ebook and a workbook that are currently in process, and we give these tools to your staff, to you, and anybody that is going to be working around this implementation, along with an online course and implementation guide. Those prices that I just mentioned are obviously they fluctuate per business. The larger dollar amounts are for larger businesses, depending on the amount of implementation that we're going to have to do, and we scale that back all the way to you. So that doesn't necessarily mean that that we are sitting across from the table discussing a $200,000 deal. That just gives you a general idea of a large company where all of that is going to be implemented, and from there we scale that back according to who we're interacting with and the amount of dedication and resources that will need to be applied. And I shouldn't even say dedication, because we're dedicated to every single client, but the amount of resources and time that will need to be applied to implement PAYDIRT. Nevertheless, it is, having said what I said and not really breaking into any of the details and the methodologies behind it, there's only one way to get moving forward, and that's to get started. PAYDIRT's not completely unique in that it's basically, along with a handful of other methodologies, it's basically the path that you have to follow and have to get on board in order to move a company forward, in order to move a marketing platform towards an end goal. But it is unique for us because we like the acrostic. We have corralled many different tools and many different strategies to support each of those particular elements, and honestly, there's no reason to put this off. PAYDIRT is implemented across 7 different steps. Each step requires a certain payment that is half paid at the beginning of that step, and then the other half is paid at the end of that step. And granted, there may only be a week or so in between the beginning and end of a particular step, but payment plans can be worked out in order to get each one. You could implement each letter one every 2 or 3 months until you have the ability to invest in the next step. But once a single step is taken, it starts to impact your company. There have been businesses that we've done nothing more than walked in and given the presentation and done some planning and maybe a little assessing, and we've seen them start to flourish simply because we've inherently changed their mindset, and they start to attract more business. And there's a lot of secondary laws that kind of apply to this when we do this. So each step starts to profit you as you move through it, and we try to make the impact of getting on board and getting going and starting to get the benefit from it to be as minimal as possible. And by doing it in this modular way, you can implement pay for the first half and allow some time for that to take hold, or time for you to collect more money so that you can pay it off and then move to A, and we break it down. And as you move into this thing, it starts to snowball, and the effect of it, if you maintain course, will begin to pick up, and you will begin to benefit from it. And really the result is that it will start to make the money necessary to pay for the rest of it. So we give you all of those implementation, if you want to spend a year or two trying to implement all this, because that's the only way it'll be financially capable, that you'll be financially capable of doing that, then we make that possible for you. If you want to get it all implemented right away, this entire program can be implemented depending on the scale and the size of the company, but within 12 weeks you can have your entire business turned around, and your status across the web can just be a complete facelift, and can completely be altered for the better and for a long-term purpose in a very short period of time. So I thank you for allowing us to share some of these ideas with you, for considering EWF marketing as your marketing solution, for considering PAYDIRT and recognizing that implementing just these 7 steps into your business, even under your own guidance and even under your own creativity and methodologies, is going to give you a baseline for some clarity, and it will give you a means and a method for collecting value and passing it out to your clients. They're going to so appreciate you for implementing this and for developing what is essentially going to be the backbone of your relationship to them. And believe me, people are far more desirous of your product, of your end solution, when they have an opportunity to kind of test drive it, have an opportunity to grow from it and benefit from it, at the onset. And there's so much out there that when you draw somebody in through this value proposition and you do it in a systematic way and you're able to continually touch them and add value to their lives, there's so much noise out there. It's the only way to cut through all of that noise. But once you get a hold of a client that truly finds that value in what you're doing, well, then the relationship between you, the loyalty between you, the ability to extrapolate in a very beneficial way to the client, to extrapolate their lifetime customer value, becomes very sincere and very evident, and numbers really start to fall into place to know, well, what is it that, how much does it cost me to acquire a customer? Those kind of questions start to come into clearer focus, and then you start applying different principles and different laws and start graphing and charting and looking at numbers and tagging and applying 80-20 rules and just whatever it is that you come across, the things that you learn in books as you read and discover new ideas. You can quickly go back to this system and start implementing them in the right places, and it's pretty exciting because now you can have a major impact on your overall business based on something new that you've learned, and there's no greater joy in business than to be able to do something like that, because you know that you're going to serve your customer all the more. So we hope to be able to take this journey with you. If not, I trust that this presentation and you can find us on the web doing more in-depth training along the lines of PAYDIRT in various forums and platforms. So we do hope to see you out there, and we hope to draw you towards us with value all the way. And when we meet, then we will look forward to the opportunity to serve you, because it is our passion at EWF Marketing to renew your perspective one element at a time.